Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode today where we are actually wrapping everything up. We're doing a two-parter. So before we get started in today's episode, uh, welcome everybody. If you haven't already, please make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the channel. We'll go ahead and get that out of the way right off the bat. Dan, how are you doing today?
Oh, I'm all right. We're only a little bit behind. We had some technical difficulties, but it's all good. I'm doing
Still
well.
rolling with it.
We're rolling with it, baby. We don't care. We're
No, we
trying to get
don't.
information out, man.
I am informing that we are rolling through.
Yep. I stand informed.
All
Captain
right.
Jennifer.
Well, before we get into today's episode, we really want to start incorporating all of the wonderful testimonies and feedback that we have been getting from all the sessions that you have been doing, Dan. Like you
Yep.
have really been on fire and rocking and rolling. So kudos to you. Do you want to speak on any of the sessions that
The one we're about to do, Livio, I just wanted to give a shout out to our pal Livio Sanchez. He was originally with the Peak Prosperity podcast, and then life called him out to go to down to Washington D.C. and he helped produce the there he is. Yep, he helped that. Yep, he helped produce the videos that we saw come out of there.
Sounds like.
you want me to play it?
In just a minute. So that's Livio on the left, and he's currently in LA, man. He's where Del Bigtree is. He got invited out to, well, they were needed because he helped set up these stages. He knows how to do all this production. So he's a super duper hero today because we know him. He's our friend, A, and B, they're doing the thing. They're doing the thing. So he was in DC. He produced the videos that we see on the internet very often. We see them. Those are his productions, and or he's a big fat part of it. I don't actually know, whatever, if every little clip is his. I don't think so, but you know, he's a big part of it. And I read for Livio. He's my friend, and so you can see the mandates in the back. And this is a testimonial from having read for Livio and his kids.
Oh, you read for the kids too?
Well, I had the charts up, and I was pointing out some things that he needed to know. Livio's got that channel of initiation that you have. So
does he?
Yep. So he draws them in. He draws them. He impacts. He's a generator, but he still.
Here we go.
I'm no denying the continuous mind-blowing moments when working with Dan. Thoughts like, "Oh my God, if I'd only known this sooner, my life would be different." And then you realize, wait a minute, I can actually make a change like right now in this moment with this information. And unblock all the blockages in dealing with myself, with dealing with my kids, with my ex-partners, with my new relationships. It's an extraordinary gift that Dan has, and the ability and willingness for him to share that gift with me is overwhelming, to say the least. And just listening to myself, it sounds like, so cliche, but really, it's if you're open to it, it's worth spending some time and working with Dan and really unblock a lot of things that might be stopping you from actually living your best self. So yeah, thank you, Dan. And keep it up.
You go, bro. That was very touching.
I think he hit on every aspect of you.
He was just, I got goosebumps when I saw it. I was like, thank you, Livio. You know, if you only knew how much he empowers me just by speaking it back, we give each other so much juice. It's a wonder why we came up with a money system in the first place.
I know. We would love to take that down.
Yep. Or alter it. Let's make it a little friendlier. That would be real nice.
Make it a little friendlier. I like how you say that.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, yes, wonderful testimony for anybody who has not had a session yet with Dan and would like one. Please make sure to drop a comment down below and let us know. We would definitely be happy to arrange that. And we are also putting out the call as well for people who are other readers that would like to start to co-collaborate with this, because me and Dan are definitely on a mission to help wake up humanity to their true potential so that people can start learning how to live within their designs. And that's how we're going to make a great impact on this planet, is by working together and all embracing who we are and breaking out of the matrix.
There's really one primary way to do this, and it's through how we're wrapping up right now: type, strategy, and authority. And it's going to take 2 parts to this, and we're going to keep bringing it all together and include the stuff from the last episodes. And so I'll just remind everyone, last episode we can leave right on this slide. Last episode we went through the whole thing about why now, the word quote now, is the sharpest tool in the shed.
Man, that was an epic episode.
It was epic. It was so good. And we really, really just, when we are in our now moments, no matter how many times we leave our now moments, it doesn't matter. It matters the times we are in them, because you see it. And then the strategy and authority starts to come into play, and you realize, oh my God, my strategy and authority really only happens right now. It's you can only experience it and be aware of it right now. This is why this clutter inside our mind, the clap trap. I heard someone call it, I heard an analyst call it the monkey mind. I thought that was a great little analogy. Just when that stuff is overriding our strategy and our authority, we can't make the decisions right. Everything is hard. And people come back with stuff like, life sucks. Why is it so hard? And they're outside of there right now. Nobody can live right now for every moment of every day. We're in a world, we're busy. We go to work, we do stuff, people to make demands. But we can recognize that right now over and over. And soon you start to get into that place, and it happens naturally through your strategy and authority. So it takes, I say it's going to take us 2 parts to get through this. So let's start.
Okay.
So we have our 4 types, and there's a lot of people who talk about the generator being a generator and a manifesting generator. It's true, but a generator is a generator is a generator. We have a big old box. We got to respond. We don't know. Our truth does not come out until it's a response. But let's start up top with this manifester. I'm not sure if people can read that verbiage up top.
I can read it for everybody.
Yep.
Manifestors, they're 9% of the population. Strategy is to inform. Their aura is closed and repelling. Their signature is peace, and their not self theme is anger.
Anger, peace. So in order to get to this binary, we dealt with this in a previous episode, anger and peace, that's the manifestor binary. The anger and it's still a frustration. It's an upsetness. It's a million words. Come up with a million words. But the primary keynote is anger. And when you start to feel it, that's great. It's not bad. It's good. It's your signpost. So what does this strategy mean? To inform. Now, we went over this on a previous episode, but we're going to get in a little more deep. When you're informing as a manifestor, as an adult manifestor, you are literally letting people know what you're about to do. And that informs on everything. The idea is, because the manifestor aura is closed, it's closed off to the resistance of others. That repelling is, it repels the resistance of others. It's not repelling of the love of the person and or the friendship or any of that. It's not mean. It's just that it repels their resistance. So Jen, if I start getting in your face and getting in your way, you are going to repel me successfully, every time. And if you try to resist a manifestor for too long, they have to go right through, or they're going to just stop and go around. So in order to keep that resistance down, they inform. And what it does to the other 3 aura types, we 3 aura types have been conditioned to be somewhat afraid of the manifestor, because we think we can't break through to them, because the aura comes through first, and most manifestors don't know, and that aura comes in like a ton of bricks. at times, and we can't tell. It makes people nervous. They can't quite
It
break.
does.
It makes them nervous. It makes them like real well to the true not self. It says, hey, what's up with this being? I can't control them. That's what it really says. And the not self mind of the other three types picks that up, and they start asking questions that don't matter, thinking about things that have no relevance, trying to get their certainty, which they can't be certain. I'm going through the not self themes of the open centers right now.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they start having a chip on their shoulder because maybe they think they can't compete with them. All this stuff, under pressure, trying to avoid the conflict, whatever it is. All of these things, trying to attract their attention. So as soon as the manifestor informs, and informing is a wide range of everything. Hey, I'm going to go to the store. I'll be right back. That's informing.
Okay.
But you don't, manifestors don't always inform on that. They get up and go. And then their sweetie might say, where did you go? What did you do? Where they wouldn't have necessarily done that if the other type was a generator or a projector. They would probably even recognize you went to the store, because you've gone for 10 minutes, came back, and you happen to have milk in your hand, but there's still something inside the types that resists that manifestor and tries to say, hey, what was up? Where'd you go? By informing, you literally relax the aura of the other, and suddenly I've been informed. I'm heading out to the store. Be right back. It's not like you need our permission. You're going to do it anyway.
But can the manifestor feel like that I guess that's a not self theme.
No, ask it.
Well, sometimes like with certain people, I'm like, why do I need to inform you? And that's like the rebellious side of me.
Right.
And then I view it as like, I have to tell this person what I'm doing. But
right.
I see what you're saying. You just brought an awareness.
Pick and choose. If you're a manifestor, go ahead and pick and choose and start to define for your own self, where does this resistance come in? There may be some people you don't want to inform at all. Hey,
right.
Whatever. There's things that you just might not want them to know for whatever reason. It's terribly personal. But the idea is not to judge or make measurement on how personal it is or isn't. What it really is for the manifestor themselves to start to recognize, when I inform more than not, I have a lot less resistance. When I get really good at informing, I start to recognize I don't care. And the only time to not inform is, I don't know, you're in an abusive relationship and you're about to get out of Dodge. Maybe don't inform them, an hour before. Maybe while you're in your car about ready to go, you can flip them off and tell them you're getting out of Dodge. Okay, you informed them. That I'm thinking of a obviously ridiculous, an outrageous example, but
no, but that's a good point. I mean, maybe I should have used that advice when I was leaving, my abusive ex. Right. I informed him I was leaving, and it created a lot of resistance with him. Maybe that's because
didn't it relieve you when you informed him? It was like, oh yeah.
Maybe. Yes, it did.
And then how long did that backlash take to start happening? Minutes? Start happening right away, or?
Oh, with him, it started happening immediately.
Right.
He didn't like that. For me, it was speaking it into existence and taking my power back.
Yep. Which is good manifestor.
That was the manifesting with me, ma'am. Speaking.
It's so simple, this strategy, and it's the only type that has a strategy imposed upon them. It's not quite natural. It's because you don't really need to inform or do anything. Technically, you're just a manifestor. Go do. But since you live in a world where, 7 billion of the rest of us are not a manifestor, it behooves them to just recognize, yes, it's an imposed strategy. The other strategies are quite natural for them. But this strategy is sort of imposed. It's like, hey, we know you don't have to, but this is to make your life easier. And if you just get used to it, it's a thing that you just do naturally. How it starts for the manifestor child is the parent teaches them manners. Remember, we talked about manifestor children back in the first or second episode, and talked about all the child types. Mm-hmm. But if you're a manifestor child, your mother and father, they their job is to make a big giant arena around you, just this huge circle around you that's so big you can barely get to the borders, so that they are never refusing you what you want. The parent of a manifestor child has to find every excuse in the book and every reason to not refuse whatever it is the child asks. In return, the child is taught the manners. Ask for permission. It's unnatural, even for the child. The child's like, well, don't ask for, I left. What do you mean ask? I'm leaving. I'm walking out the door with my Superman cape on and, whatever. And, my whatever, all of the things a child would do. And by teaching them these manners, they ask, and then they find out it's safe because mom and dad never refuse them. I mean, until the kid says, I sharpened up 20 knives and I'm going to go juggle sharp knives for the first time. No, okay, there's a boundary. Now we're at the edges. So, but that parent would find an excuse to say, listen, here's things that aren't knives. They've got dull edges. Start here first. If you're going to juggle knives, I can't stop you. At some point, you're going to juggle them when I'm not looking. But at least there would be a border for them, an edge, a boundary out at the far edge where they can literally start to see that, hey, I don't have to refuse my kid almost anything. And they wanted to juggle sharp knives, but I went ahead and dulled the knives. I made little wooden cutouts, and they're no longer sharp. So when they get clunked in the head, they don't get stabbed. That's a thing. And then the child learns these manners. They ask, they say please, they say thank. They just learn some courteous manners, standard things. And then next thing you know, they love the impact. They want to open the door for the little old lady. They want to be of assistance. Most manifestors love being of service because that's the biggest arena in which they can impact the other.
Mm-hmm.
A good impact brings the signature of peace. No impact brings or just no influence whatsoever. You can't live out your type, brings anger, no peace. So that's why this strategy is simply to inform. It starts out young by just being taught standard manners. Don't say that to grandma, please. And please and thank you and all of these things. And the parents learn to say please and thank you too. Please, honey, just stay within the boundaries of this. Oh, you can do it, but keep it in the yard, okay? And that way, when the manifestor goes a little bit into the other yard, they know to sort of not go all the way into the other yard. They know not to hop over into the next neighborhood 4 streets over. Again, a little bit of compromise and a little bit of manners in a manifestor child goes a long way, because as soon as they're 18 years old or younger, 16 or 17, they're out the door.
Mm-hmm.
They're out the door and they're not afraid. And the next thing you know, they're informing. They go to a job interview and the boss says, well, I'm not sure if I want to hire you. And they inform them, well, I'm not sure if I want you to hire me. I'm really good for this position, but you do want me. And they start informing them. And if that employer says, oh, you're too cocky for me, the man, okay, goodbye. Out the door they go, on to the next. Because someone will, like me, would pick back, whoa, you're all power. And like, yeah, I'm telling you, I'm very good at what I do. And I would start asking things. A smart employer would be like, well, but can you be humble? Can you, do you find yourself to be a nice person? Can you work, with others? Oh yeah, all that stuff. Boom. Now I hire this person and I get that manifestor's impact. Everyone should have manifestors in their company to help impact the motion of that thing. It's a thing. Everyone needs a pile of generators to help do all the work and generate the creativity and the creation of that company. And we need all the types.
Savannah's got some questions real quick.
Fire away, Savannah.
So, first one is, what is good advice in working with manifestors?
Is to get them in touch with their anger first. The good advice when working with a manifestor is first things first, get straight to the anger. Did I do that first with you, Jen? I probably did a few cursory things and I got straight to anger quick.
Yeah, you actually triggered me on our first reading that did have the that response, and it was afterwards that I reflected on it.
Yep.
And then I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that is right. And then the more that's actually what started leading me into looking more about my design, where now we've talked about when that anger comes up and how I'm working with it to my advantage
Yep.
in positive ways, because it is a very powerful energy to work with.
It really is. Anger can turn to rage real quick, and that becomes no good for anybody,
No,
especially
no,
for the manifester. The other person can just shake it off at some point and walk away, but the manifester has to live with that. They just were there. So that's not good for the cells in their body. That's not good for their health. Their organs don't get replenished with that. They get depleted. You know, an angry manifester for a whole life is a short life for a manifester.
I had anger management issues when I was younger.
Yeah, and people probably tried to tell you all kinds of things and strategies and stuff to work with it, of which only a few would have ever been really super helpful. And,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and in ways intuitively they would have been helpful, but mostly they were by accident helpful.
Yep.
Now we have a strategy and we start to witness the genetic way of this being, this manifester. So get to the anger first, Savannah, you know, or early on, right away.
Very good. Next question she asked is, weren't the manifestors the king and queen rulers in the past times?
They were, and they've been a little bit put out to pasture in these times as it relates to being able to be that king and queen, because back in the day, prior to our shift into our nine-centered being, hundreds of years ago, as seven-centered beings, the manifestor would just simply say, be like me, and no one could be like them. And so since no one could be like them, they stayed the king of the hill, and they would take rulership, they would take dominion, they would take over the control of things. They would get angry and people wouldn't know how to combat that anger. They just wouldn't know, and it would be scary, and so they would just rule by force. So that's not power, that's force.
Yeah.
And most every manifestor, basically, if they ruled by too much force, sooner or later they'd die a gruesome, ugly death.
Well, Savannah's next question was, wasn't Hitler a manifester? And I can answer
Yep.
that yes.
Yeah, as was Stalin, Joseph Stalin, as was Mussolini, as was I forget if Napoleon was, as was, there are many. Alexander the Great was a manifester.
Yes,
Yes,
Alexander,
but that's
that's...
unreliable, because who the hell knows what time? I mean, how can we really know unless really accurate records were kept? But
Yeah, but just by his actions, I
yeah,
would probably say that he was a manifester. Same with Putin is a
he
manifester.
is a manifester. He absolutely is. George Bush the second, the son, he was an emotional manifester. Did you notice no one survived his cabinet? You're fired. You're fired. That's it. And everyone was in line. You know, no one ever towed a line outside of what W said. He kept an iron fist on his cabinet. I don't know if anyone remembers that. I do. I'm like, wow, everyone falls in line with him. Later, when I knew, I was like, oh, look at that. So, by the way, he's an emotional manifester with a channel of transitoriness, like the celebrity we did on Wednesday night. That experiential channel of transitoriness, very, very human experiential. So, with all the sexuality based in that channel, all I can say is Laura Bush must be a very talented wife.
Oh,
Yep.
well, I could say so much about the Bushes, but we won't right
Well,
on this.
I'm sure there's a lot to say about all of this stuff, Jennifer, and I'm starting to see the dark black veil upon all of these people who have lots of money and forget to deal with common people anymore.
Well, but you're pointing out very, very key things, like and also it's in a black and white way. This is what it is, but we can see how it's manifesting into people's reality, just like you said with the manifester and the anger. I was one that had anger issues, and breaking things was one of the ways that I would channel that energy, and it
Why not?
wasn't very healthy.
No, but if that was all there was, go ahead and smash it. And
Yes.
and for a parent to a manifestor child, if their kid's about to smash it, you might not be able to stop them. Don't punish them. Understand them. Don't punish. You'll never.
I'm a manifester. That's something that I gotta wrap my head around. Understanding, yes, I do get that. Maybe if my mom would have,
Just, honey, what's wrong? She could have said, just, can you say? Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Well, you sound angry. Remember, she would have informed you. Remember, you need to be at peace. Peace is your, inform me. What is it that brings peace, honey? Oh, yeah. But suddenly you change. Your whole energy changes. Your mother's love washes upon you. You are human. You're not closed and repelling to love. It's just resistance. One aspect. There's a million other aspects in life. Resistance is one of them. And that's what you repel. So, I think it's pretty cool. There's an old joke.
It is pretty awesome.
Rob told an old joke. It was a funny one. He was like, all the other types, they drive down the street, there's a crowd of people. They have to, honk their horn, wait, people to get out of the way. The manifestor drives down the street. They don't stop. They just honk their horn. They said, hey, I informed you. I honked my horn. People get out of the way. I have watched my friend, who's an ego manifestor, just power right through a crowd. People move like an ocean, and he's laying on his horn. And I'm like, I'm scared as shit in the car, but he has got an awareness that his aura was repelling the people out of the way. I found it to be quite dangerous, but everyone got out of the way. I mean, it was like, yeah.
I don't do that.
No, it was an extreme example, but it was a thing. I witnessed it. I was there. Anyway, so that's the strategy, to inform. Generators. Any other questions on that?
No, I think we're good. Let's go to generators. So generators are 70% of the population. Their strategy is to respond. Their aura is open and enveloping. Signature is satisfaction, and not self-theme is frustration.
Yeah, so when the generators, they deliver us a frustrating planet. Well, planet Earth, keynote number 1, the planet of frustration. So anyone, if you're visiting here from some other planet, just recognize, planet of frustration, unless you find an awake village that knows their design. So to recognize that binary, when you're frustrated, that's your signpost that you don't have satisfaction in your decision making. So that aura, open and enveloping, just means that they cannot discern between what is and what isn't coming in. It's got to come in. That open and enveloping attracts everything to come in. The generator is a giant attraction field. Everywhere you see a generator, if you were able to put some kind of lens on them from way up high, you would see these attraction fields, like a sinkhole, asking everything to come in. Mm-hmm. But the generator doesn't know that. So their only strategy and ability to navigate this plane is not to control things, not to know what the hell's going to be next, not to think about a ton of things that don't matter and be under pressure trying to figure out what to do with all of that. It's to wait, to respond through the responsive nature of a generator. And a generator has that sacral box defined in them, the sacral. They're here generating and buzzing energy. They're just buzzing with energy all day long. But the thing is that the first part of that energy, it's not aware. The energy simply is buzzing with energy, awaiting a stimuli to come in so that its generative box can do what it does, respond. In a moment, generators have a moment to moment response to all things that show up within a life on this planet. All things, no exceptions, none. The radio frequency comes in, they might not like it. The channel said, the guy said something, they don't like it, they turn it off. They see a car pull up, they've got a response. Who is that? What are we doing? What are we into? Everything is a response to a generator. Someone says something, they have something to say in response or not. If all the other aspects we dealt with fall into play, but surrendering to the initial truth is a response. Children generators know this. They know, and I've said this a million times. You ask a kid if they want chocolate ice cream, and they don't think. They say, you want to go play outside? Yup. They just, it's an immediate response. Hey, do you want your friend from next door to come over? Oh, no, not yet. Okay. But later they start to feel guilty. Oh, maybe I should let them over. I taught to feel guilty. Their head takes over. We let the new friend in from 2 doors down. They weren't trying to be mean. They just weren't ready for that friend to come over. Maybe they were in the middle of digging a hole and it was wicked important. They finished it themselves. Who knows? They're fucking 4 or 5 years old, for God's sake. It doesn't matter. What matters is it's their truth. It's not rude. It's not mean. It's that it needs to not feel guilt about anything.
It is purity, and the 5-year-old just giving you the truth. There's nothing
Giving you the truth, and then the mother can come out a little bit later, and they can even say something like, hey, Johnny from 2 doors down, their mother asked if he can come over. Can he come over? Oh, okay. That was 10 minutes later. Truth changed. Why? You asked again. Why? The responder said. It's always what the responder says. It's like instead of Simon says, if you're a generator, just go with sacral says. Sacral says. How come you didn't? Sacral says. Two generators are in a relationship, and one generator asks the other, do you love me? And they're like, mostly. Well, that's not the answer that society trained us we're supposed to have. We're supposed to have, I adore you and I will die without you, please.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, you're my soulmate and my twin flame and everything. I love you. Bullshit. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes it's medium. It doesn't mean your relationship is over, for God's sakes. You're sharing the same space. You've got all these common things. You've been together. You've made love with each other. You maybe even have kids. You have all this and all that. The generator's not required to feel what the hell someone says they want them to feel. And when you surrender to this responsive nature, you'll stop being enslaved. Generators are the great slaves, because along comes the other energy types, especially a manifestor type, and says, hey, do this. Boom, generators outside of their response, they're a slave. That's not what they want. And it's not just a manifestor that'll do that. Generators enslave each other over and over and over again by not asking. And suddenly the generator's doing things they didn't want to do because they didn't have a chance to respond. When you start really listening to that responsive nature and someone comes and tells you, hey, you need to do this, your responsive nature will be like, I don't know if I'm in the mood. Maybe. What do you mean maybe? It's got to get done right now. It's got to, don't tell me what to do. If you're a generator, you are ordained by God himself to literally say no and to anything and allow your energy to be used up when it's satisfying to you. You have an absolute and inalienable human right to not give your energy to anything that doesn't receive its yes, affirmative, response. Period. If you act that out, you're no longer enslaved.
How does a generator know when their sacral is responding instead of the mind, and not self-responding?
So not self is always the mind. The old seven-centered way was the mind. So the generator knows literally by practicing, and especially if there's someone else in their life that can ask them questions. That's why I'm always wanting the people I read for to learn how to ask yes/no questions of their generator compadres on this planet, to get at their truth. So the way they really know is in the immediacy. The response is an immediate chemistry, and they know it. It's an immediate or I don't know, maybe I don't know if I'm in the mood, maybe. Mind steps in a split second later or more and goes. So really it's a challenge at first, because they seem like they're one and the same, but just look at the response like, hey, if it's a chemistry, it's working at the speed of chemical electricity. So as fast as a battery will turn on a flashlight is as fast as your response is.
So Savannah's next question was, so that would be an example of like their conditioning responding versus their inner authority. Sacral.
All day long. All day long. When they have a sacral inner authority, their truth is a response. Well, if they're a generator, their truth is a response. If their inner authority is sacral, that's how they decide with their responses.
Okay. And she asked, is it a heavy feeling in the gut for a no?
It's a heavy feeling in the gut for both.
For both.
It's heavy good. Some heavy things are good. Some heavy things are hard. It's a lot of feeling. Let's just call it a lotta. It's a lot of juice. So they're looking to distinguish between that moment that was the response and that moment that happens as little as a half second later, where mind starts thinking stuff. I think this, I think that, maybe no. As soon as 2 seconds have gone by, they're a liar. As soon as a second has gone by, they're a generator. If you're a generator and you're not responding, if you're not a responder, you're a liar.
If you're not okay, the way that I am seeing this is normally going with the first response.
Period.
And then you stop and you may think about it or analyze it or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So the first response on a generator is the truth.
Is the truth. Now,
Always.
yeah,
Even
no,
if they don't speak it, but they'll internally know what that
right,
is.
right. So when you're entering into this experiment of witnessing how that was your truth, think of it this way: your truth unlocks the power, and everything else gives half power, third power, quarter power, no power. That means whatever you're doing it like shit, or not so good, or you're frustrated. It's just not what you want to do. So if you're doing it with your power, you'll notice because you feel satisfied. It's immediate. Now, we live in a life already. So if you find that you just censored yourself, go ahead and censor yourself. The point is not to be perfect at it. The point is to witness it, so that in witnessing it, you start to realize, wow, there is a difference. Remember, this is the knowledge. We give it to you, right? And then later comes the experience. As you experience the knowledge, you put those two things together. They're needed. They're the yin and the yang of the two different aspects. The experience would be the yin. The knowledge is the yang. It's all this male, yang knowledge trying to crush in on you to tell you, hey, let me tell you. And the yin is the form saying, hey, I've experienced it. I've experienced it. You put those two things together, you have awareness. Now you're making decisions as yourself.
Which is in the moment.
Which is in the moment. Always.
Yep.
Yep.
It's the sharpest tool in the shed.
It's the sharpest tool in the shed.
In the moment.
Right in the moment. And that's for all the types, because we all have a chemistry. Don't forget, this stuff is genetically baked in. Nothing we can do about it. Might as well know how the chemistry works. Again, the subtitle of this was, "This is not magic," or what did I say? What's the subtitle of this thing?
This was not magic.
It's mechanics or something like
mechanics.
Yeah,
yes.
It's not just the matrix. We are the mechanics are the matrix.
The mechanics. We call it the matrix, but it's really just the mechanics.
Okay. Yep. That's what we call it. So and it's not magic. It's mechanics. It's just like, hey, we all know the mechanics. If you cut your finger, you bleed, and then the bleeding stops because blood coagulates and it clots. So you stop bleeding, right? That's a mechanic. Everyone knows that mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Or else we'd all bleed out.
Savannah asked, so a parent should ask generator kids yes or no questions that they can respond to, not why questions.
Why is very difficult. There's no reason. You can get into the why questions over time as you start to work with them, but they don't know. They know yes, no, and I don't know. They'll come to their own why within themselves, but it really starts with the parents' absolute steadfast awareness that first I will ask them, even though I know I'm not going to get the answer that I want. Hey, do you want to clean your room? No, of course the kid doesn't want to clean their room necessarily, but you still ask so they can hear it. As a parent, you start to set the boundaries of, well, you're going to have to at some point, and that's great. But then you're still asked. If you're a parent to a generator child, I strongly suggest you build in twice, at least 3 times if you have the patience, but at least twice where you are asking what, do you want to, would you like to, can we, are you gonna, will you? You just are asking questions framed in a yes, no format so that the child can hear their truth come out of their being. And in hearing it over and over throughout their adolescent years, throughout their growing up years with you, they become so rock. By the time they're 14 years old, if you've just been asking and asking, they are so set in their power, they won't let other people simply tell them what to do. They will not become enslaved because they didn't know how to respond and they let their mind get in the way. And so as a parent, just back up your timing. You have to back up your timing. If the kid's got to leave for a class in 20 minutes, you got to ask them, hey, do you want to go to your class? 10 minutes and 5 minutes beforehand, before you make them go to the stupid class. You may have to make them go. You're a parent. Maybe it was whatever, something needed to have happen, but at least you ask them. Another important thing will happen to the parent of the generator. When you realize the magic, think about it. 14 billion years ago, we were something the size of a grapefruit or whatever, and we blew up into all of this. Well, 14 billion years later, there's your child giving you them their truth. You might want to see that as something absolutely incredible, okay? And understand the majesty of that, understand the beauty and the glory of what just happened. The little bioform gave you their truth. What will happen to you is suddenly you'll stop trying to make them do the things. You'll realize, I thought I wanted them to be this or do that or go there. I don't really care. That's what you'll find. You'll find that you won't make them do half the things that they respond to and say they don't want to more, because you'll realize that's not true for my kid. They don't want to. You'll come up with a balance as mom and dad. You'll see it. The trick is to start as mom and dad so you can start to witness their truth as a child. Because sometimes you'll look at it and be like, I don't want to crush my kid's truth. They really don't want to. Hey, do you want to go to your violin lesson? No, I don't want to. I hate the violin. Are you sure? Well, yeah, I don't like it. Do you just not like it now? Well, I don't like it right now. Might you like it next week? I don't know. Okay. If I make you go to the violin lesson, are you going to be mad at me? I don't want to go. Okay, maybe call the violin teacher and say, hey, I think my kid's sick of this instrument. You know, confer with the violin teacher. What have you noticed? Now you're adults. You're off. The kid's out playing, doing what he wants to do, and the parents and the adults are talking. But the mother and father are aware that the truth of that child was, no, my energy's not there. Don't enslave me by making me go.
Savannah just said she's a projector parent with 4 generator children, so she's learning to honor their yes and no responses, and she's getting, don't force them to do things they don't want to do.
Right. And in doing that, Savannah, you'll start to notice that the stuff you have to do goes down a little bit, because those crazy little nutcase generators, they're going to take care of their own selves for hours at a time or half hours at a time. And suddenly you get a break. Before you didn't have a break because you had to force something, and now you got a break. You got to break from it all because the kid is using their energy that they're satisfied with. That's the way to go. It's not easy in our society, Jen. Parents are taught you're supposed to be in charge of your children, take control of the situation, whatever. All the bullshit conditioning we get. We didn't know. We didn't know. Now that we know, there's no excuse.
Mm-hmm.
You want generator children going to jail? Start telling them what to do. You want them to have shit jobs, shit relationships, be all fucked up when they get older and get that giant chip on their shoulder that everybody knows because we all got one. You want that for your kid? Start telling them what to do and keep it that way. You want to see their glory? You start asking them yes, no questions, and you get good at it, and you witness, and you'll feel that joy. It will touch you to your heart. You'll see it, and you'll never want to go back. Want to move on?
Sure, let's move on to projectors.
Did I say that strong enough?
You said that perfect, Dan. You said that perfect. So we have projectors next, which is 20% of the population. The strategy is to wait for the invitation. The aura is focused and observing. Signature is success, and not self-theme is bitterness.
So there's the binary. That bitterness versus success. And if you're a projector, you can insert a lot of words for success. You can't, there's not many words you want to insert for bitterness. It's like bitterness, it starts seething, anger, rage, combinations, but it really starts with bitterness. But that success, victory, I did it, there's accomplishment, they're here mastering systems, their aura is focused and penetrating so that they're always penetrating in on the thing. And that's how they gain their mastery. And their primary question is always, who are you? So they're always looking into who are you. If you're a projector, you should be looking at the charts of everyone you know. And that's how you're going to end up finding out who you are. So you're trying to go between this binary every time you notice bitterness in any level, just even if it's just a little bit, you know, there is something for which that you know there's no victory coming. There's something for which you know that the satisfaction of having finished the thing that you wanted to get done is just not the right thing for you. I wish you could come on, Savannah, so you could actually explain some stuff, even if it was just voice. But so you could say some things about the projector, because the projector is this really unique creature. They have the ability to penetrate the other beings into the G center. The projector even penetrates you, Jen. It's just that they don't like what they see sometimes, and they have to get back out because, you know, it's hard. It's effort. It's
the projectors, they don't like what they see.
well, it's that it's hard to get in, and so they don't necessarily. I can't say that as a rule of thumb. They don't like what they see. I need to retool that phrase. It's more as if they don't know what they're seeing necessarily. It's hard to get through, but they're still penetrating. Their chemical signature coming out of their aura because of their genetics has the penetration going into the G center of the other. Don't forget, the G center is our identity. It's that identity center that says, I push my love in a direction. What direction is my love going in right now? That's how we identify ourselves. Our identity as human beings is our love of ourselves, our love of humanity, our love of all things, our love of ourself, of our body in the world, interacting. And it's the love of all that stuff in a direction. So that's why the projector type is very special. They penetrate everyone to their identity, and it can seem like a lot. And if you were on, you could describe what that feels like. I'm just a dumb generator. I don't know. You know, if you ask me questions, it might come out.
Savannah says, yes, experienced and felt a lot of bitterness. And she asks, don't projectors do best with one-on-one and not groups?
Absolutely.
Since we have such a piercing aura.
Yes, one-on-one. I sometimes say small groups if the invitation is there, and it seems right, but one-on-one for sure, just for sure. Doesn't mean don't go to parties. It doesn't mean don't have fun out at a concert. It just means when you're in penetration mode because you're looking into who are you, one-on-one is always going to be best. If you're at a gathering, penetrate one person at a time. It's fun. So this strategy for them to get at their truth is all about the strategy of waiting for the invitation. This waiting for an invitation genetically puts the body at ease when they surrender to the fact that they're not missing anything. That's the point. If the invitation isn't there, you're not missing anything, because whatever it is you're going to try and initiate to make happen is going to suck for you. It's not what you want. So waiting for the invitation seems so passive, like waiting to respond. It is not, because it's not just a formal invitation, although those are the best, or those are good. It is any invitation. It's anything that you could consider recognition. I mean, a person from across the room can just nod, and that's a recognition. And then suddenly, hey, yeah, what, blah, blah, blah. Hey, I saw you from across the room. And, you know, my name's so-and-so, blah, 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 blah. They're in. There was a recognition. And now you're penetrating them to their core, and they will or won't like it. They don't know. So that's why this invitation is so important to the projector. The projector simply needs to know that there's recognition, because recognition does for the projector what response does for the generator. It brings the power out. When there's recognition, all their power comes out. When there's no recognition, there's a recoiling and bitterness, and it doesn't feel good. Hello, Savannah. It's
Hi.
so.
Thanks. Can you hear me?
Totally.
Okay, cool.
We're good. Say something about us, about the projector population.
Oh.
Let us have it.
No, I just, yeah, I feel like we're taught to initiate and to like start things, and that it's always just backfired. Like since I'm learning human design and the strategy of a projector, I noticed that I was almost like I was going, sorry, I can't get my camera like right on. It seemed like I was always going like uphill and nothing was ever working.
Yep.
And projectors, we tend to like overshare and like offer to do things. And I noticed I didn't wait for the invitation, and it led to like so much heartache.
Yeah.
Rejection.
Yep.
In my life. And so, just like learning about like a projector strategy and authority was like very empowering and helped you. I don't know, it just helped me a lot to not give away my energy or my
your life force. That's your life force, baby. You only got so much.
Yes, and that's sorry, my camera is retarded. Okay. Yeah, and that's also something else I noticed was the energy. I don't know if you want to touch on that, how projectors aren't generators, and so our energy is very like un poquito compared to like to generators. So I struggled a lot with that. I felt like I had to constantly like keep up with the generator world and like go, do. And I just like, I felt like it gave me like burnout really, really fast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I feel like something was wrong with me. Like, why can't I keep up with everybody? You know, and then you learn about human design and it's like projectors need rest. They need breaks. Like we don't have energy like the other types do, and to like honor when we need breaks and when we need rest. And
it's like the manifester too.
Yeah,
I have to honor that I am not like a generator and conserve my energy. I'm very mindful of it now that I'm aware of my human design.
Yeah, because I feel like it's almost praised, like to have all this energy and to go and like hustle and push yourself even when you're tired. You know, I feel like that's a big thing in our world, but human design is like, nope, you need a rest. Like go take a nap, you know, and you'll actually be more productive if you do that. If you honor your body and honor your design, like you will be more successful in your life. And
yes, but try to tell the world full of generators that, you know, we want to we have to take naps or honor it. It's an unknown concept sometimes.
It is. It's a little bit of a different concept, but think about how quickly, as soon as you don't rest, your natural rest, the generative box is there to just buzz with that energy, that life force all day. But don't forget, as I keep saying, it's a dumb energy. It's unaware. Mm-hmm. The aura is open and enveloping, so they can't discern. Everything comes in, so the box has to generate all day long because it always needs to be able to respond. Period.
Wait to respond.
Yeah, so that's why it's always generating with energy at all times, because I never know what the hell I'm going to respond to. I don't know. Doorbell ring, whatever. But the projector type, when we're looking at that, Savannah, is it true that you've noticed that when you sharpen down what is it you focus in on, that you start to gain mastery on little systems here and there, and then that feels like victory? You notice this binary between, you know, the bitterness and the victory, the success, the systems mastery. Projectors are always mastering systems, little systems, big systems, you know, just the systems of humanity. And if you don't do that and you let yourself go too long and work too hard, you become enslaved. In fact, if generators are enslaved all the time, projectors, when they get captured, super slaves, because you don't even know when to stop. You don't know when enough is enough. You know, so an employer could get a young projector, an employer could get a good 5-10 years out of them, and then they're all used up, broken, bitter, pissed, divorced, all of it, you know. And that's how our employment world works at this point, very much. Not totally, but very much so.
Yeah, don't they say projectors kind of struggle with the 9-to-5 job? Like that will burn them out really quickly, because that's just not how our energy is meant to be spent, right?
Yeah, actually all the types will. The 9-to-5 job is a homogenized concept. Homogenized. How about, hey, we got this amount of work, when you're done, so that way you non-sacral types can focus and penetrate or initiate and basically manifest the whole thing to be done in 2 hours and then go home.
I would love to do that. I have tried to introduce that concept to employers before, but they did not.
They didn't like it.
No. And that was me informing.
Yep. I wouldn't mind that, Jen.
No, well, my resignation was the next informing.
Right. Oh, so yeah, so something good for the non-sacral types, you start to recognize that this energy drain happens quickly, and the thing to recognize the most for all the unsacral beings, the other 30% of the planet that don't have a sacral defined, is to recognize this boiling point of when you start to realize, I don't know when enough is enough here.
Mm-hmm.
When is enough enough? It's just not knowing when enough is enough. And that's a thing to really pay attention to. You got no sacral, you're trying to amplify that sacral by buzzing even more with energy.
Mm-hmm.
So when's enough enough? So
anything. Yeah. Isn't there like a joke about how projectors are like downing the energy drinks, trying to get more energy so that they can, because they don't know when enough is enough. So we just keep pushing ourselves and downing the energy drinks
energy drinks, Red Bull. Yes, Red Bull. I would bet you Red Bull is disproportionately purchased by projectors. I would, by non-sacral beings. Yeah. I would bet.
Also, something else I was going to share is like how you mentioned how projectors love to understand the other, and that's really how we come to like learn about ourselves, is through asking questions to the other. And it's just funny because I'm a psychology major, right? I want to understand why people do what they do, and that's what I got my bachelor's in. And then it's just funny that I find human design, and it's like I feel like it's like a projector's dream because it like you understand people, like why do they do what they do. And
what a perfect thing for a projector to go into psychology. I mean, of course, like modern psychology currently is drafted on, you know, a bunch of not self themes, obviously, and you know, they don't know, but that's okay. It's not that their heart isn't in the right place. So your heart's in the right place. You know, maybe we'll be able to find, if you have a psychology degree, let's get you licensed, dude. Do that. Let's get you licensed, set up in a practice, and then don't practice the old shit, practice the new. You won't have to prescribe anything.
Yes, I love that idea. Oh, and then something else I was going to share is like I have 4 generator children and I'm with them all day long, and I start to feel very drained. And I love how human design teaches you how to like get yourself out of their aura, so you can be all by yourself, to kind of like help you like cleanse the energy you've been like absorbing and taking in. And
it's a shower. You're taking an auric shower, an auric bath, by simply getting out of the aura. So did you notice, I know we would have detailed this experiment for you. Did you notice as soon as you're about 8 feet away from the nearest generator, suddenly there's like this dividing line, like I'm in one state, I'm in another state. I'm in one state, I'm in another state. You take one more step later and you suddenly realize, hey, I'm out of their aura.
Yeah.
Take 2 steps closer and it's like, I'm back in their aura again. Oh my God.
Yeah, I've noticed that. I've also noticed like exercising and being by myself, or like doing yoga by myself. I've noticed it feels like it helps like clear it quicker, that everything.
And then you're right back in the mix. So let's move on to so this whole, again, the strategy is awaiting recognition and invitation. And if you're a projector, you just start to recognize. You're pros at recognizing stuff. Start to recognize when you don't feel recognized. That's the strategy. Wait for the invitation, awaiting recognition, so that you can get out there and master systems. You love mastering systems. Master them, you know, time and time again. And then the generators will need you to guide us. Projectors are here guiding us, whether we know it or not. It doesn't matter whether, as soon as they're in your aura, they have provided you guidance, and you have no way to put that into words. If you don't know the person, you just have no way of knowing.
I realized that with my friend Sheena. She like immediately, as soon as we talk, it's like she's pulling stuff out of me, and I'm like, where the hell did that come from? You know, and it's just this really.
That's why I'm always begging Savannah to be on here. She's the resident projector. She pulls the questions out. She helps provide a direction.
Yes, Savannah's been great. I'm telling you, Savannah, like the questions you're asking, they add a lot to the show, and it comes from a different angle. So yes, I as a manifester, and the more that I am recognizing everybody's designs and how it's all coming together to work together, it's beautiful. So yeah, thank you for I'm honoring your design.
Remember, guys, not magic, mechanics.
It's mechanics.
We don't need mysticism here. We don't need any pageantry. We can just be a couple people walking down the street. Mechanics.
I was going to say something else. I know as projectors, we kind of struggle. It's like sometimes we can see something that like we kind of notice things or see things that could be fixed or ways to guide people. But if people aren't open to it, then that's where projectors, we tend to give advice when it was unsolicited.
Right.
And then what makes us feel bitterness. And so I feel like human design gives you ways so that you're not feeling hurt all the time as a projector.
Right.
And you're not feeling that bitterness. And I did that really bad. I would just overshare and giving people advice that weren't ready for or didn't want it. And then I feel all hurt and shut down. And so that's human design has been so life-changing for me because it's made me kind of respect people like where they're at and just only share when I'm invited to. And I've noticed it saved me a lot of heartache. And I feel like it's good with my self-esteem too. Because I would take that personally, like, oh, I'm not valued, you know, and I feel like projectors struggle with that a lot as we start to feel like people don't value us because we aren't taking our guidance. And so they say like a projector is you have to rebuild and understand like you have that value inside, whether someone like appreciates it or not. Like you have gifts to share. You just have to be wise in like how you're sharing the advice or things like that. So I feel like my self-worth has improved and gone up since I've learned about human design and learned about mine chart and everything and the types. So thank you, Dan.
Savannah, thank you back. Think in the near year or two that we've known each other, think of how much guidance you've actually provided me. You guided me to half of a country. Half of all of the people I've ever spoken to are the result of you and Raya. It started with a little zippity-doo-dah generator, but Antoinette put me in touch with Raya, but Raya and you got me the rest of the way throughout the Midwest and all those places, you know, so that was your guidance. You recognized something. I needed that recognition. It guided me. Your recognition guided me. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
So I would like to add one thing on that too. Now that you said that, Savannah, it does help with other people too, because like with me, sometimes, what came to mind was, you know, I get busy and, you know, if I have a reflector friend or a projector friend that sends me something and I really enjoy it, it's important that I say something and say thank you because y'all took the time to do it, instead of, you know, where I know that you're not self-esteem, maybe bitterness, that could say something. So it's also other designs honoring, knowing that how people may respond to avoid that whole bitterness.
Absolutely.
For a projector, like you telling us, like, thank you for sharing that with me. Like, it means a lot to me. I really love what you shared. That like feeds our soul. You have no idea. Like, something so small like that, just saying like, thank you for sharing. Like, I love what you shared. Like that lights us up. Like that gives us energy and like, yeah, so that's a big deal for projectors. I don't know if it's that way for the other types.
It's that way for projectors, especially. Think about what I was saying, Jen, a moment ago. Recognition allows out their power. It allows the human biochemical power that's going to come out of this unit, this Savannah unit that got stamped out at birth. Her power comes out with that recognition. Her power, the energy to even sustain. So now suddenly Savannah can sustain 2-3 hours and she's mastering stuff along the way while she's doing that. And then she gives herself a break, you know, and so forth and so on. And these are all the little tricks and trades you start to notice as you go along. Savannah, do you want to stay on for a little bit while we do the reflector?
Yeah, sure. If you need me to, or I can get off, whichever.
Jen, do you have a preference?
No, I'm going to actually pop Tressa on and then we'll go into the reflectors. And then are we going through the other slides? Because we're already an hour in.
Oh, no, this was a 2-part series. Those slides are for the whole series.
They're the whole series. Okay.
Well set for next week, essentially.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure we were still staying on schedule.
No
All right.
way.
So we're going to dive into reflectors.
Tressa, good to see you. Meet
You
Savannah.
too. Sorry, I'm late. Hi, Savannah. I've heard so much about you. And Jennifer, I've heard so much about you too.
Hi, Tressa.
So the reflector is going to be really simple for right now. Can you read that out?
Yeah, absolutely. Reflectors are 1% of the population. Their strategy is wait a lunar cycle. Aura is resistant and sampling. Their signature is surprised, and their not self theme is disappointment.
Let's take that binary first, as always. So when they're feeling disappointed, by the way, that's a disappointment deep down in their soul. And if they live a disappointed life, they're just not going to be healthy. The surprise is this glory of surprise. It's more than just a pleasant surprise. It can be a pleasant surprise, but they're looking to be like, yeah, hey, that was great. That worked out. That was awesome. I gave a last reflector I spoke to. I was like, it was the lottery ticket. They're so surprised. I won $100. Yay. They're all excited about that. That gives them power. So again, we all have our power in various ways. Now, the reflector is closest in aura to the manifestor. Manifestors and reflectors are as close to each other as two types can really get, or one of the ways they can be as close to each other, because their aura is resistant. It's resistant in sampling. So because they're all open and they have no definition, they aren't solar beings like the other three types, like us guys. They are lunar beings. They allow the moon to go around at least once before they've had every gate in their body graph connected on the other side. They are true samplers of humanity. And what the name says is they're here to reflect back the health of the society. Their overriding question becomes, who are they? Or, what's my milieu? What is all of this? It can be as broad as what the hell, but basically, who are they? So Jennifer, what's my impact? Dan, who am I? Savannah, who are you? The reflector is, who are they? And back to, what's my impact? What feels good? What gives me peace? Tressa. So waiting out the lunar cycle whenever the decision is big, any real decision, should I move? Should I take this job? Should I fall in love with this person? Should I this? Should I that? What should I do? As they await the lunar cycle, it's not they wait the lunar cycle, should I brush my teeth? You can't do that. What they do is they start witnessing their lunar cycle. And when they start seeing that these activations happen at the either ends of their gates every month reliably, they start to recognize who they are. The reflector can get a great deal of juice out of recognizing who they are. They can have that pleasant surprise that is now an empowering surprise. Suddenly they know their power. They will resist the other, hold them at bay while they sample. It's like they're the little biopsy machine. Hold them at bay, stretch the flesh out, grab a biopsy. Stretch it out, grab a biopsy. That's what they're doing. They're biopsying humanity around them so they can figure out who are they. So when you're around a reflector, they're not necessarily super open to you yet. They have to resist you, sample you before they can let you in. Recognize that. Don't ask them to know right now. They don't have a sacral that responds. Don't ask them to impact. Just let them wait and resist while they sample. It's perfect for them when they do that. Tressa, have you read for a projector yet?
Projector or a reflector? Yeah, I have one magical unicorn that I've read for. And, so I have a question for you, Danny, about the reflectors. They really are such magical beings because their aura, it's like Teflon, right? And I've heard before, as I'm listening to my seminars, their aura will go right up to the edge of other auras and just sample it, just graze the surface of the aura, right? Where the manifestor's aura is kind of pushing everybody away. Yep. The reflector's aura will just go right up to it and sample it, but it's so tough, it doesn't really let things penetrate. Teflon. Now, I have heard, it's Teflon, yeah, but I've heard reflectors talk about, there was one reflector on YouTube and she was saying how before she found human design, she would just take everything in. She was so sensitive. She thought she had a form of Asperger's disease. And so I'm wondering if reflectors, like I know as a manifestor, my shield can come up and my shield can come down. Mm-hmm. When I'm in manifestor mode, it's like shields up. It's kind of that FU shield. Everybody get back away from me. I am a manifestor, right? So I'm wondering if the same is for reflectors. Like it's either this or that, right? Like their shield is either Teflon. Yeah.
What's that, Jen?
I said something similar to Dan the other day. Like as soon as the moment of resistance comes in, it's like shield up.
Boom. Yep, that's it. Like, we're either open or we're repelling, we're either this or we're that. And so for a reflector, not knowing that they're a reflector, is it possible for reflectors to kind of have the opposite effect with their aura, where they're absorbing and amplifying all of their
all
open
day
systems?
long? They're still
hard.
susceptible. They're fully susceptible to the not self-conditioning of all the open centers. It's just that they're susceptible in a very different way. They'll still experience the exact same things, but they keep shifting because don't forget, they get a new definition every 4 hours.
Yeah, that's right.
Every 4 hours, that moon is in a different gate and it's potentially lighting up a new channel for them. So, Yes, a reflector, if we have a reflector chart and you want to pull it up, you can see that wherever their 20 or so activations are on their chart, all month long, they got 4 to 6 hours where the other end of that activation is lit up. So suddenly they're emotional. Suddenly they're an ego being. Suddenly they're a double generator. Who knows?
Through every cycle of the moon.
Yep.
And they can track it. They now have software where they can actually track their lunar transits. So as a reflector, it's so important for them to get this software. Check your forecast. Go to your lunar transit. Know what you're going to be that day, what centers you're going to have to find that day. I mean, that's what I would do if I was a reflector.
Yeah, no, it's actually a really good thing. And so that's the reflectors. You are always awaiting out this lunar cycle as it relates to what is your strategy. But the rest of your strategy is to recognize that your aura does come right up to the edge and it samples. I call it taking a biopsy. It's sampling. So let it sample. Don't take it personally. You don't let the other take it personally. If someone tries to take it personally, say, hey, listen, I'm a reflector and my aura is touching yours and I'm sampling. Leave me alone. I'll be right with you.
Oh, can I ask a quick question? So is their personality just like changing all the time? Because if they're around different people, those different centers and channels would be activated. So are they kind of like come across as like bipolar sometimes? Is that word? That sounds mean. Bipolar. That sounds mean. I'm sorry, but it just seems like their personality would be kind of really inconsistent and kind of all over the place. Is that how it is for them?
Absolutely. So what's happening is they can be very confused with all of this energy always coming in. Don't forget their job. Their job is to reflect back the health. They can't determine the health unless they're sampling it. That's why part of their aura gave them resistance so that they can sample. So if they don't know any of this, then they turn into what happened to Michael Jackson. He was a reflector. I personally believe that poor Michael, when he wasn't surprised in Wonderland, no wonder he built himself Wonderland, by the way. Good reflector. Build yourself a Wonderland, if you got no other way out. But every other aspect of his life, people just wanted shit from him. They were constantly breaking into his aura. I can imagine he had a lot of problems with that. A lot of problems with that because we're always connecting up the rest of their gates and I come in and I put different centers into that reflector. That's why they resist. So chances are they would have to tell me. We get enough reflectors together that are awake, they'll start to tell us, yeah, I actually resist and I didn't take in their conditioning. Tressa, for all I know, the reflector doesn't take in their conditioning quite the same way as us solar types.
Yeah, I've actually heard that. I've heard Ross say that just recently. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So ultimately, I mean, I'm a generator. I can't discern. I end up taking it all in. I have no choice. It all comes. So I don't know what's going to happen. That's why I was given a responsive box to respond with. So we all are given our tools. Don't worry about the reflector. As soon as the reflector recognizes that lunar cycle, they get so powerful and they're very strong beings. Their aura is as close to a manifestor as you can get for as it relates to an aura. So if we can go full screen with the four of us, we can sort of just talk about some of these things and just get back.
Yeah, man. Reflectors are tough. They're tough as nails, man.
Yeah.
they get yelled at. They're around some crazy energy. The reflector that I was fortunate enough to read for, she takes in foster kids, and so she's taken in I don't know how many foster kids, but she's been around a lot of really hard, rough energy, and she just is, man. She's a tough lady. She's tough as nails, and it's like she's got that Teflon aura
Yes,
around her. So
Rosalind Carter was a reflector, and there was no shortage of children, farm hands, and other activity going around. If you're a reflector, don't try to live alone. You're always going to be best in the aura of others as you sample and determine the health of that society around you. A surprised, happy reflector is a good world, and that they make up 1% of the population because that's about all we need of them to go ahead and be reflecting back. What the hell?
So aren't they supposed to be kind of like guides also? Like I know projectors are guides, but reflectors, like what's their job here to do for like the other?
It's such a good question. Tressa, that's a really short question.
Oh, I have a great answer. Do you mind if I take that, Danny?
Yeah.
Okay. This is my favorite way of thinking about human design. It's an analogy because life is really just a play, right? We're all just in this play. And in a play, 70% of that play are actors. They're generators. They're here to build the show, put the show on for us, let us all watch the show, right? And in that show, 20% are projectors. They're the directors of the show. They guide the generators. They help them know where they're to go. Now, the 9% are the manifestors. We're the weird ones in the corner writing the scripts. We're initiating what the play is going to do. And the 1%, the reflector, that's the audience. That's the movie critic. They're telling us if our play sucks or not.
Right.
Did they enjoy it? Do we need to be doing a better job? Are we sick? Are we our not selves? Are we acting out as our true selves? How are we doing? And they sit in the center of the hub with the community around them. And everybody looks at the reflector, and the reflector reflects back at everybody else how the play is going, essentially.
And hopefully they're surprised.
I wonder how the play is going. That's interesting. I love that analogy.
Yes, the reflector surprise is a very big thing. It's no small deal. That surprise can be the surprise of the birth of a new nation, for God's sakes. It can birth out anything. That surprise is a large, lofty thing at times. So they're doing a lot. We need them. We need us all, really. That's the bottom line. So I hope this whole podcast, this whole launching pad really, really takes off, guys. But I had asked Tressa, I said, Tressa, give us your 6-line sanctification. I forgot how I put it yesterday. I said, well, we've got that 3rd-line martyr, that 3rd-line materialist who's going to help bump into things. We're already being universalized. That's Jennifer. Jennifer universalizes everything, and she's investigating it all. And we've got the 2-4 natural over here. I started talking, so I'm doing, I'm externalizing. So you put it all together, guys. We make a 1-3, a 2-4, a 5-1, and a 6-2. These are all perfect harmonies to each other. It's literally.
We make a synergy together.
Yeah.
So happy together. So what else next do we want to do, Jen? And does anyone have an idea for where they might want to see this podcast go next? Because after this next episode, we're done demystifying human design. We got to demystify this crap. It's not mystery. It's mechanics.
Yeah.
Who's first?
Sorry.
Rochambeau. No, just kidding. Jen, go ahead.
I think we were going to bring in other people so we could have more conversations about.
So we'll come up with topics.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I would love to talk about the channels. I feel like that resonates a lot with people. All of human design does.
Yes.
The channels there's so much to them, and I feel like that's really where I'm trying to dive in the most. I don't know if you already covered the channels yet.
Oh yeah, we covered them on an earlier episode, but not in any kind of depth. Because we can't. We're demystifying human design, not just actually teaching fully. We're trying to demystify this into mechanics that people can rely on. So strategy and authority seemed like the fitting way to end this 10-part series. Next week ends the series. So
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because no matter how deep you can get into human design, which is so stinking deep, there's rabbit holes and rabbit holes and rabbit holes. And every single one of those rabbit holes lead you right back to strategy and authority. Every single one of them lead you back. And here's the thing about strategy and authority is you can logically understand your strategy and authority, but there's a difference between living it and being it. And so I don't know, I'm just throwing this out there as a topic. Real life examples and help. You know, Danny has so much knowledge and information in how each type, each strategy, each authority, you know, and the majority of those authorities are sacral and emotional. And so understanding like real life tips, like how to really live your design. And maybe you guys have talked about this before, but
we got the three main authorities are up here on this board. You two guys, Tressa and Savannah, you guys are splenic. The spleen just, and so I've watched you, Tressa, struggle at first and then suddenly recognize, hey, it's a little scary, but you know that little bastard works on this. He keeps and then Jennifer, you have an emotional inner authority. So you've learned to wait out that wave. And at times you probably felt out of place. It's like, I'm just waiting out a wave. I want to do something, you know, but you have to wait for that clarity. And me, I'm a sacral generator. I don't know until I bump into it and respond. I'm literally dangling in the wind at all times. I don't know. Maybe. That's what I know. So we got the three together. We make up like 97% of all the authority. The splenic authority, the sacral authority, and the most abundant is the emotional authority. So that's definitely what we're going to be talking about next week is those three authorities and how the strategy of the type plays out inside that authority. Is basically the thing. Can Savannah, can you say anything about how scary it has been at times to see that? What do you mean I have an intuitive knowing in the moment? Dude, what if it's wrong? You know? I just turned into the meat grinder if it's wrong. What happened?
Yeah, I think it's hard for me because I have open head centers. And so my not self mind just steps in and kind of tramples all over like those splenic hits that I get. So I've really, I mean, I've had moments when I'm like, oh yeah, that was my spleen. Like I needed to go in that direction and I did. But then there's other times where it's just, sometimes it can be hard and confusing and our conditioning and our mind wants to step in and take over. And so that's what I've really been trying to become aware of about myself is like, okay, is this my not self mind or is this like a real intuitive hit? And I think sometimes it's hard as a splenic authority because sometimes it doesn't make logical sense, like what you're getting. So your mind tries to step in and be like, oh, no, don't do that. Like do this instead. And so it's hard, like to follow it and I feel like it takes courage to follow your strategy and authority. And a lot of times it goes against our conditioning. And so yeah, it's definitely a journey.
Takes courage. It definitely takes courage. Have you noticed that you've at least seen it enough times to where knowing, experience it has equal to moments of awareness? Have you seen it where it's like, oh my dear Lord, that little bastard was right?
Yeah.
Was that so relieving? That feel like victory and success? Like I saw it, I'm seeing it, I see it.
Yeah. And I love how I think Ross said with the splenic authority is like it can change. Like in one moment it could be like, yes, do this, but in another moment it's like, no, this isn't good for you. Like stop. You know, so it can change. And knowing that was comforting because sometimes we think we get an answer and it's going to be that way like all the time or you know, but it's comforting to know that like, no, it can change, you know, the answers you get from your spleen or your inner authority. So
right, exactly. Jennifer, how has it been with this emotional authority inside of you? I mean, with no one, the other three of us, we don't know an emotional authority. Tressa and I have oftentimes lamented, I would love to know the depth because the emotional authority brings us our depth. That's why you guys make up a majority on the planet. A slight majority, but it's a majority.
Are you asking what it's like to be the emotional?
Yes. This wave, can you speak to it at all yet? Is it?
Well, when I wasn't aware, so I dove down the psychology route. I studied psychology because I wanted to know my own emotions because I was feeling so many, and sometimes during the day it was, I mean, it was massive mood swings. So I can say that before I have become, just aware, but even more with my human design, um, even in psychology, they'll say it's mood swings or whatever you want to label it. Where now I'm recognizing what those emotions are and bringing them to the forefront. But then I dig deeper and I ask myself what is triggering those emotions so that I can analyze what's going on in my world that may be bringing that up to the surface. But I'm on an emotional wave right now. So, and the only thing that I'm doing, telling myself, is to be the passenger and observe.
And observe.
And in that observing is where I'm gaining the most clarity of what answers I need that could possibly be triggering that emotion to come up to the surface. But those emotions that I am learning now are what I think there's a word you call them. They're my postmarks. That's the awareness. Those are the hits that I need to follow because in that emotions, my body is telling me something is not working according to my design.
And you get that awareness over time. No truth now. No truth, not real truth, not real clarity. You get hits of moments of these things that, oh yeah, that was true. But the overall truth, no truth in the now, baby. If you're emotional, you're taking the time for the rest of us who have all this truth in the now. It's on the surface. It's always skipping along the surface like a rock. And then the emotional person comes and they go deep. And it's like, give us all this deep, rich stuff. If we don't have it, our emotional solar plex, our gate 55 mutation that we are undergoing now won't wake it. It'll wake up all fucked up. We'll be broken, so we need that.
You hit it spot on. It is deep. I can't help but go deep.
Right. And then you wonder why others are shallow. And now you know their limitation. 50% of the planet is shallow as compared to you in the moment of the deepness. They're not bad. Yes. They're not stupid. They're not wrong. They're just comparatively shallow in the moments compared to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. That's perfect. Thank you, Jennifer. You're doing a lot of heavy lifting, you crazy little bastard. That's why I asked you.
Thank you, Dan.
Yeah, I love you for that.
I love you too, Dan.
Crazy. Love it. So, Tressa, was there anything else that like, did that bring up anything?
Oh, I'm fascinated by the emotional wave. I also, honestly, what it brought up was some of what I do in my own personal work, which is probably not, something to talk about over this podcast, but I do deal with a lot of suppressed negative emotions. Yeah. So I'm a hypnotherapist. Yeah. And I really like to say that the work that I do supports your human design experiment, because when you are an emotional being, and you have a massive amount of suppressed negative emotions, that trigger is your unconscious mind saying you have stuff inside of you that hasn't been healed. And when I say healed, it's basically you weren't able to feel it in the moment that it happened. So let's say that you're 8 and something overly emotional, overly whelming comes up and you're not able to process it. Your psyche will suppress it for you and save it for later so that you can heal it in the moment. And the way that your neurology is it strings all of those events together like a string of pearl. So now that we're adults, we have this overwhelming manifestors. I know, okay, I can speak for myself. This is what I know. Anger from every event from my childhood connected to now. So now I'm not feeling an appropriate amount of anger. I'm feeling an overwhelming appropriate amount of rage, and I will destroy everybody in this room, because I am a manifestor feeling my emotions from now all the way back to my childhood. So part of the work that I do is I disconnect past suppressed emotions so that you're free to feel whatever emotion is happening in the present moment appropriately, right? Appropriately. Now, I'm a manifestor. I feel manifestor anger. I can disconnect past anger all day, but guess what? When I get angry, it's manifestor anger. But the difference is it's so much shorter than it was before. I let myself feel that anger. There's no brooding, there's no whatever. It comes out and it's gone. Somebody with an emotional wave like you, my sister has an emotional wave, by the way, and she also does this work that I do. And what it did for her is it made the waves not so intense. She still gets emotional waves. They're just, it's not that storm that she used to live in on the sea. And so really understanding your strategy and authority, understanding how you're designed is the only way to understand who your true self is. But there are ways that you can support your experiment and support the wave that you're going through. And I'm like Danny, I look at your wave and I'm like, I love you so much for feeling that. Thank you so much for having that depth and feeling that for all of us, because it's really important, you know.
Mm-hmm. It's honoring it.
It is. It really is. The wave never stops. Don't forget, the wave makes us smart. And it's just about, instead of hating when the wave is coming, it's about recognizing, again, as of 5 years old, the mom or the dad could have said to the young boy or girl, oh, that's just an emotional wave, son. That's actually good. You're going to go down and you're going to feel a little sad, but you're going to get so smart on the other side. That's what it's for. Mm-hmm. It's there to get us smart. So any last comments from you, Savannah? You're muted, it looks like. I don't know if you have any last things to say.
Oh, it's funny you were talking about emotions, because one of my children is like exploding with emotion right now. So I'm like, I gotta mute you. You don't hear my child screaming. So
you best go take care of that. And I think we're kind of done for now. And I don't know if you have a few minutes, Tressa, that you could hang on after, because at some point, I guess, Jen, you cut the thing and then we're offline. But if we stay, whoever stays on, we can talk for a moment.
Yes.
Yeah, I would love that.
Are you in the mood, Jen?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay. Coolio.
Thank you, ladies, for both of us joining. For everybody who joined us live, thank you. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and follow the channel. And don't forget that we do have a Wednesday night show. Last Wednesday, we did Angelina Jolie's chart, which was a very informative and very, I loved doing it with Dan. So he hit on Angelina. From what I can tell, very spot on. This coming Wednesday, we're going to be doing Donald Trump. So that will be a very interesting chart to read into. So please make sure that you hit that notification button. That way you can get alert when we do go live. Again, also for anybody who would like to join the show, just like these two ladies did, we do have backstage passes available. Please make sure to send us a message. You can see all the links scrolling down below where you can find us. Send us a message and we can give you a backstage pass. We would love to have you on the show. Please make sure you share this information. And if you would like to have a session with Dan, you know where to find us. So with that said, thank you everybody who joined us, and we will see you next Sunday.
Catch you on the flip. Thanks
All
for
right.
the show. No, it was